What's shaking, my friends? My name is Shay. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have my December wrap up for you guys. December was a very rough month for me. I got extremely ill. I am still sick. It's January the 3rd and I'm still ill, and so I did not read as much as I thought I would in December. So this might not be the best wrap up because, to be honest, I don't remember a lot of what I read because the things I was reading were read in the first half of the month, and now it's first half of December, and now it is January the 3rd. So I'm going to try my best to put my thoughts and feelings into this. I read 10 things in the month of December. However, I did DNF 2 books, and one of those books I got 50% into, and the other I got 40%. So I read a little bit more than 10 things. But we will just pop into it. To put it into perspective, I think when I added up the pages, I was just over 3,000 pages even with my DNFs, and I normally read 5,000 to 6,000 pages, so that's just kind of where my reading has been in December. So please bear with me. I will try to give all my thoughts in a concise way. Alright, so the first book I read of the month was Psytonic by Brandon Sanderson. Of course, I had pre-ordered this and was super excited to get to read it. And this is the third in the Skyward series, if you did not know. And I'm not going to go over what this is about. It says YA sci-fi following Spencer and her journeys. And this one was kind of a disappointment. I gave it 3 stars, which is crazy because I hardly ever give a Brandon Sanderson book 3 stars, but this was it because I just felt there was a lot of meandering. There was a lot of things. It felt like a filler book, and part of what made Skyward great was that friend group that we got to meet. And then in our second one we went off-world and we met another friend group, and this one we're still not getting back to that original friend group. We are still meeting new characters and meeting yet another friend group. So I think it detracts from the story a little bit. Not that I didn't like the new characters, but I just feel like it's just a filler book, and I think everybody's waiting to get back to the original characters. So I do need to read the short novellas that come, where you were supposed to read 2 of them before you read this, but I did not. But I am going to go back and read those to see if maybe it would have made more sense if I had read those before now. The second book I read of the month was The Heart Principle by Helen Hoang. I've heard many, many, many people say that this book is not a romance, and here's where I'm going to beg to differ with you. This is absolutely a romance, or some people call it women's fiction, but to be honest, I really don't know exactly what women's fiction is. To me, women's fiction are things that tackle other topics, and the relationship, while there is one in there, is usually in the back. But to me, I felt like the relationship in this book was at the forefront of the story, so that's why I feel like it's a romance. It's the third book in the, I don't even know what she calls. It was started with the Kiss Quotient and then the Brad Test, and now The Heart Principle, and it follows our main characters, Quan and Anna, I want to say. I have no idea. Yeah, Quan and Anna, and she basically is getting out of a relationship, and she tries this online dating thing, and that's how she meets Quan, and it's their relationship. And she's also going through some more difficult things like death and grief and different things. And I felt that this story was so... I gave this book 5 stars, okay? This was a complete 5-star read for me. This book is so relevant. I guess if you don't work in the healthcare field, you may not know, but I've worked in critical care for 7 years of my life, and then I've worked in oncology for the other 5 years of my life, of my working life. And in both of those fields, we deal with end of life, we deal with grief, we deal with caregivers, and caregiver fatigue is extremely a thing, and that's what this book really hits on. And so I don't know if it just because I relate so much to this book, but absolutely, positively, 5 stars all the way. Yes, give me more Helen Hoang. I really enjoy books like this, and like I said, if I'm going to read a romance, I want there to be more hard-hitting topics, and this totally fit that bill. The next book that I read was Fable by Adrienne Young. I've read, I guess the only other work I read by her was The Girl the Sea Gave Back, and I did not enjoy that one. And so I picked this one up because many people have recommended it, and it's a beautiful cover. It's a beautiful cover. This follows our main character, Fable, and her mother died, and her father the next day dropped her off at this island that basically it's hard to survive on. It's survival of the fittest on this island, and she is determined to get off this island to prove to her father that she wants to be part of his crew, that she is deserving of being part of his crew. He is this great shipping person. And so the story, while I thought that the premise might be of her trying to fight to get off this island, the story actually starts 4 years after she has already been on the island and she's trying to get off the island. And then there's this people that she has relied on that she finally gets to get off the island with. And the story just starts from there. It's a story of it's a love story. It is a story of a girl trying to find her place in the world, and I enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. I don't remember much about it. I do want to continue on with this. The next book is Namesake, so I hope to continue on soon so that I can finish up this duology. The next book I read was, I got this recommendation from Patrick, from the channel Patrick. I'll leave his channel down below, but if most people that review fantasy or read fantasy know who Patrick is, and he really enjoyed this book, and so it made me pick it up, and that is going to be The Hand of the Sun King by J.T. Greathouse. I absolutely positively 100% loved this book. This was another 5-star read for me, and y'all, just to know that 5 stars are very rare for me, very, very rare. A small percentage, maybe 5% of the books I read in a year. So to have 2 in the month of December was crazy. So this follows our main character, and he goes by 2 separate names because he grew up in a world where his mother and father, his father worships the current emperor. This emperor came through the land and defeated all the magic people that were already there and took over power. And his father is very, very allegiant to that emperor. His mother comes from the old magic, and she has denounced that magic and married his father. However, her mother still lives, and she's out in hiding, and so her mother, or our main character's grandmother, Win Outer is his name. Outer Win goes to is learning, the old magic in secret with his grandmother, and then his grandmother has to go off to help with the rebellion, and leaves Win Outer to his parents. And to his parents, he is supposed to be very allegiant to the emperor, and so he has studied for these tests his entire life. He takes these tests to see if he can be the hand of the emperor, which is one of the highest honors that you can have in the countries or world, wherever they are. And so he goes off on this journey to become hand of the emperor, take these tests, take these trials, and then we see him going through to figure out himself. So it's a coming of age story. He's trying to figure out who he is as a person, and he's trying to figure out which side is the right side. Is it the old magic, or is it the new emperor? Which is right and which is wrong, because he has ties to both sides, and it is such a thrilling read. I found it refreshing because it was a great coming of age story, and I cannot wait for the second book to come out. It's supposed to come out later this year. And so I am very excited. I read this as an ARC because I had it, so I read it on my Kindle, and then I immediately purchased a copy. Highly recommend this book, The Hand of the Sun King by J.T. Greathouse. The next book I read was a very disappointing read after hearing so many people rave about this book, and I am a romance fan, people. But that is going to be The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I just did not care for this. So this is touted as like an enemies to lovers kind of thing, and I didn't really feel like it was enemies to lovers. It is basically our main character. She has it's really a ridiculous premise. So her and her ex-boyfriend, her best friend is into her ex-boyfriend, and she really does not care about her ex-boyfriend. She wishes that her best friend would go with her ex-boyfriend and they could be happy and frolic. She does not care. She wants her best friend to go off with her ex-boyfriend. So in order to make her friend do this, she has to make her friend think that she's dating and happy. And so she tells her best friend that she's going on a date, when actually she's going to like the science lab to work on her thesis or her projects or whatever. And she gets caught in the hallway. Her best friend comes down and she's already told her best friend she's going on a date, and then so she kisses the first man that she sees in the hallway, and it happens to be the asshole professor. And it goes from there, and it's a fake dating. And number one, these are two professionals. This is a professor at a college, and this is a girl. And yes, it's entertaining, it's whatever, but the fact of the matter is the activities that go on in this book in the professional world would not happen in real life. So there's that. I'm a party pooper. It's just the truth. And the only smutty scene in here was absolutely cringy, absolutely ridiculous, and just no. I didn't find any connection with these characters. I didn't care for these characters, and I'm a romance lover, and I don't know. I just don't get the hype around this, and maybe it was because it was so hyped is why I didn't like it as much, but I 10 out of 10 would not recommend. So interestingly, after that, after the Love Hypothesis, which I think that I wasn't enjoying very much, I think I read my 2 DNFs because I did the 2 DNFs back to back. So we'll talk about the first very controversial opinion, and that's going to be Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. I wanted to love this. I thought I would give this 5 stars, and I have DNF'd it. I'm going to be really honest with you and say that I may pick this up. I'm keeping the book, and I may pick this up later, and maybe it was just the headspace that I was in, because December was just not a good month for me. But this follows our main character, Sanchia, and she basically is a thief. People hire her to steal things, and she stole this object that she finds out is super important, and everybody wants it. And then so she has to run because everybody's hunting her down to have this object. And I loved the first 25% of this book. I was all in. But then we kept going on into the book, and I got like 50% in, and I just found myself not caring. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about the world. I didn't care about anything. And so I decided to put it down because life's too short to continue on reading something you were not enjoying. But I think a lot of this, like I said, was my headspace, and I think a lot of it could have been the audiobook. Not saying the audiobook was terrible, but just, I don't know. I think a lot of this book I read, a lot of times I like to read physically and listen to the audio, and I think this was one where I listened to the audio alone, and so some of it just didn't get absorbed. I'm not sure. But I do think I'll give this book a chance in the future. But for now, I DNF'd it. My second DNF was a book that I had on my Kindle, and that was Radiance by Grace Draven. This book is touted all over BookTube. Like, if you look on it on Goodreads, 5 star, 5 star, 5 star. I DNF'd at 40%. This is basically a forced political marriage between a human girl and this alien boy. And the thing is, I guess people are saying they like it because they don't like each other. They think each other are ugly, and people find that really wholesome because they're not beautiful, and I don't think you're the beautiful, which I get it. But y'all, it was so tiring to hear, you're ugly, no, you're ugly, no, you're ugly, no, you're ugly. I don't like the way you eat, no, I don't like the way you eat. I could not read another word. I could not read another word. There was nothing to me redeemable about this book. It was just a bunch of, I don't like you, I don't like you. It was just nitpicking everything each other did. I don't like the way you do this. I don't like the way you do that. And I just couldn't. I couldn't. So I DNF'd it. And so I'm not sorry for it. So I will not be going back to that book. Another book I read in the month of December was the first book in the Revelations, which is The Crown Conspiracy. So this follows our 2 main characters, Boyce and Hadrian, and they are also stealers. They are thieves. They steal things. People hire them to do things, and they actually get hired to steal something, and then they get accused of killing the king. So it's that story, and I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I can't tell you much about it now because it was in that time period where I was reading, but I kind of wasn't comprehending what I was reading and can't remember too much about the book, to be honest. I just didn't have a good month in December, but I do remember reading it, and I'd have to read a recap to continue on in the series, but I plan on it. Okay. So, The First Sister by Lennon Lewis, which I read on my Kindle. We are following 2 points of view, one of the first sister and one of Leto. So, in Leto's government, he basically is the enemy of the first sister's government. And I can't remember what their names are, but they do have separate names. And with Leto, in their world, they are bonded with another partner, and they are fighting partners, and they have chips and stuff, and they're bonded together. And his old bonding partner, his best friend, he thinks has died. He's gone missing. Nobody can find him. And so he's just very distraught until he gets summoned and told that his partner had been sent on a mission, which that mission has failed because now they think he's a traitor because he's gone off grid. So now Leto is asked to partner with somebody else, basically to go complete the job Hero, his best friend and ex-partner, has been assigned, and he has been told that to kill him as well because he is a traitor. And so that's their arc, and he actually gets handed his sister finds some tapes that Hero, his old partner, has actually recorded, and so he finds that, and so we're also getting those points of view as we go forward. We're getting his recordings, and we're getting Leto as time goes by. And then we are following our first sister, who is not in a great position. She is part of the sisterhood, so there is a first sister, a second sister, and a third sister. And what this means is basically they are not sex slaves to the soldiers, and they have more freedom. The rest of the sisters basically are sex slaves to the soldiers, and so it's not a very great place to be, even though they think they're being religious and all this kind of stuff. They worship the mother, and she thinks that she's going to get to retire off-world with the old captain because he said he's going to take her with him, and she's so excited. However, the captain leaves without her, and a new captain takes his place, which is known to be not a good person and thought to be a traitor. So then first sister is blackmailed to do all this kind of stuff, and so we're following her arc as well. And so I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought some of the twists were great. I will continue on because I love the characters that much. My only criticism would be that I feel like in the recordings where Hero's talking, like, it's a lot of things that normal talking people would not say. He's being very descriptive. He's being like we're written word on the page, and I don't know why that bugged me, but it bugged me because the whole time I was like, nobody would talk to anybody this way. Like, in everyday conversation, I don't care if I'm recording a tape or not recording a tape, or just talking to you in person or recording something, I'm not going to talk this flowery. I'm not going to talk this descriptively. I'm not going to talk like that. And so anyway, that was my only beef with that. But I did give it 4 stars. I thought it was compelling, and I'm ready to continue on with, I think the 3rd book comes out this year, but the 2nd book is called The Second Rebel, and I do plan to continue on. Okay, my battery died, so if I'm at a different place, I'm sorry. So, I guess it was around Christmas time, maybe a little bit before then, that I noticed that on my Goodreads goal, I was close to 150 books of the year. And in my competitive brain, I was like, I really want to get to 150. So, I read some short things to get there. One was Come Tumbling Down by Sean McGuire, which is the next book in the Wayward Children series, which I gave 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. I enjoyed it, but I'm not going to go over it more than that. And then the next short story I read was A Dead Jen in Cairo, and this is by Peter Jelly Clark, and I do have I want to read The Master of Jen. Hopefully, I'm interested in it, and so I want to read the little short stories that are in that world beforehand. And this one is just, I can't give too much away because of how short it is. It's like 40-something pages. So this is following this, basically there's a death, and it's mysterious, and they're trying to figure out who did it. And there's some magic involved, and a djinn. So, and then the last thing I read to get to 150 was An Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nebo. And this is basically the story of it's basically somebody telling the story of an empress who has basically taken over and overthrown the government, and she wasn't expected to. So I found it enjoyable. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was enjoyable, but I don't want to say much more than that, because in these short stories, in these novels, you can't say much without spoiling because they're so short. So I know that was very rambly of me, but I'm gonna really apologize. But December, I just have sick brain. It was not a good month. It was not a good month. So I'm hoping that January will be better. However, I have been sick again still. I'm still not feeling myself. I'm still not feeling well. And a lot of times when I'm not feeling well, I just want to lay in bed and watch TV or something. And reading is not really, my mind just can't concentrate on a book. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video. I'm hoping to have more success in January. Y'all let me know what y'all read in December. And Happy New Year.